Bombshell news sent shockwaves through the tennis world when a legendary champion made a surprise appearance at Flushing Meadows, and what he had to say about Alex Eala left fans stunned. The tennis world was already buzzing about Eala's historic rise, her sold-out merchandise, and the huge crowd surrounding her that reportedly required security escorts. But when an 11-time Grand Slam champion made a special trip to watch the young Filipino sensation practice, the significance of his visit immediately became a major talking point. What Bjorn Borg said about Eala's future wasn't simply praise, it sounded almost like a prophecy. The 21-year-old Filipina had arrived in New York and quickly got to work ahead of her US Open campaign. Eala was spotted training at Arthur Ashe Stadium, the largest tennis stadium in the world, under the supervision of her Rafael Nadal Academy coach, Joan Bosch. The US Open itself shared clips of her practice session on social media with a simple but powerful message: Eala has arrived. Within hours, the post had attracted more than 12,000 likes, showing just how much attention the rising Filipino star was generating in New York. But it wasn't the practice session itself that would dominate headlines. It was the identity of the person who had arrived to watch her. Björn Borg, the Swedish tennis legend who dominated the sport during the 1970s, made a surprise appearance at Flushing Meadows. With 11 Grand Slam titles to his name and an iconic rivalry with John McEnroe that helped define an era of tennis, Borg remains one of the most recognizable figures in the sport's history. Now 70 years old, the Swedish icon had seemingly made a special trip to watch Eala train. That immediately raised one huge question. Why Alex Eala? What had caught the attention of one of tennis history's greatest champions? And what did Borg see in the young Filipina that made him want to watch her practice in person? The answer, and his comments about Eala's future, would soon have the tennis world talking. The tennis establishment had seen legendary champions watch rising stars before. Roger Federer had been spotted watching Carlos Alcaraz, while Serena Williams had followed the development of Coco Gauff. But Bjorn Borg was different. The Swedish icon retired from professional tennis at just 26 years old, famously walking away from the sport while still at the peak of his career. In recent years, he has rarely been seen making high-profile appearances at tournaments, which made his decision to come to New York and watch Alex Eala train even more significant. His presence alone sent a message that the tennis world could not ignore. During the practice session, Eala was hitting with former world number 3 Grigor Dimitrov. The Bulgarian star, a 10-time ATP title winner, was also preparing for the US Open and had been practicing alongside the young Filipina. The image was remarkable, Eala exchanging powerful ground strokes with a former world number 3 while one of tennis history's greatest legends watched from the stands. It was a moment that perfectly captured just how far the 21-year-old's profile had risen. And then Borg spoke. After watching Eala for nearly an hour, the Swedish legend was approached by reporters who had noticed his presence. Naturally, they wanted to know what had brought him to the practice court and what he thought of the young Filipina's game. His response immediately grabbed everyone's attention. "I've been watching tennis for 50 years, Borg reportedly began, speaking with the authority of someone who had witnessed generations of champions rise and fall. And I don't say this lightly. There is something special about her." Those words carried enormous weight. Borg had watched some of the greatest players in tennis history emerge, dominate, and eventually disappear from the sport. For a player of his stature to single out a 21-year-old rising star was bound to create excitement. Whether his prediction ultimately proves correct remains to be seen, but one thing was clear. Bjorn Borg had seen something in Alex Eala that he believed was worth watching. The man who won 5 consecutive Wimbledon titles. The man who dominated on both grass and clay. The man who helped create one of the greatest rivalries in sports history. Now, Bjorn Borg was about to send the tennis world into a frenzy. Borg didn't simply watch Alex Eala practice. He delivered a verdict that immediately grabbed the attention of the tennis establishment. The Swedish legend had been watching Eala train at Arthur Ashe Stadium for nearly an hour, his eyes fixed on the young Filipina as she exchanged ground strokes with former men's world number 3 Grigor Dimitrov. Eala looked sharp throughout the session. Her movement was fluid, her timing was precise, and her shot selection appeared incredibly composed. It was the kind of practice performance that would impress almost any experienced observer. But this wasn't just any observer. This was Bjorn Borg, and when he spoke, his words carried the weight of a tennis legend who had seen generations of champions come and go. "I've been watching tennis for 50 years, Borg began, his voice reflecting the experience of someone who had witnessed virtually every era of the sport. And I don't say this lightly. There is something special about her." The reporters gathered around him immediately leaned in. Borg rarely made major public appearances at tournaments anymore. He had retired from professional tennis at just 26, walking away while still at the peak of his career, and had largely remained away from the spotlight in the decades that followed. That made his appearance at Eala's practice session, and his willingness to speak so openly about her, even more remarkable. But Borg wasn't finished. The way she moves on the court, the way she constructs points, he continued. She doesn't just hit the ball. She thinks about it. That final observation may have been the most revealing of all. Borg wasn't simply praising Eala's power or athleticism. He was highlighting something deeper, the intelligence behind her game, her ability to construct points, read situations, and make decisions under pressure. Coming from a 5-time Wimbledon champion and 11-time Grand Slam winner, those words were impossible for the tennis world to ignore. She sees the game differently. That's not something you can teach. That's something you're born with. Those words from a legend who had played against Jimmy Connors, John McEnroe, and some of the greatest players across multiple generations were enough to send shockwaves through the tennis world. But Björn Borg still wasn't finished. When reporters asked whether he saw any resemblance between Alex Eala's game and the great players of the past, Borg paused for a moment. Then he delivered a statement that would instantly become the headline. She reminds me of myself, not in style, but in something deeper. In how she carries herself, in how she doesn't flinch, in how she knows she belongs before she has even proven it. The comparison was extraordinary. Borg wasn't simply praising Eala's talent or potential. He was drawing a connection between the young Filipina and one of the most mentally composed champions in tennis history. For a 21-year-old player from the Philippines, a country without the same deep tennis tradition as many established tennis nations, being mentioned in the same conversation as Bjorn Borg was a remarkable endorsement. But with praise of that magnitude comes pressure. A comparison to one of the greatest players ever to hold a tennis racket can inspire a young athlete, but it can also create enormous expectations. Every match, every setback, and every major tournament performance can suddenly be viewed through a much larger lens. Still, Borg appeared convinced that Eala possessed something that could not simply be taught. He had seen the confidence, composure, and intelligence in her game, and he believed there was something fundamentally different about her approach to tennis. Now, all eyes were turning toward New York. Borg's remarkable comments had only added more anticipation to Eala's US Open campaign, transforming her return to Flushing Meadows into one of the most closely watched stories of the tournament. Why would a man who won 11 Grand Slam titles and retired at the absolute peak of his career travel all the way to New York just to watch a 21-year-old tennis player practice? According to the story surrounding his visit, the answer went far deeper than simply watching tennis. Bjorn Borg wasn't only watching Alex Eala hit ground strokes. He was watching how she worked, how she recovered, how she responded to a missed shot, and even how she composed herself between points. Those tiny details are often what separate talented players from true champions. You can teach someone to hit a forehand. You can teach them a serve, a volley, or a backhand slice, Borg explained to the small group of reporters gathered around him. But you cannot teach them how to think on the court. You cannot teach them how to handle pressure. You cannot teach them what they do when nobody is watching. Borg would certainly know he revolutionized tennis with his two-handed backhand, relentless baseline game, extraordinary physical conditioning, and remarkable mental strength. During an era when serve and volley specialists dominated the sport, Borg proved that a player could control matches from the baseline and succeed across completely different surfaces. He conquered both Wimbledon and the French Open, achieving something incredibly difficult at a time when surface specialists were the norm. What he appeared to notice in Eala's practice was that same combination of natural ability and mentality. Her technique immediately stood out, but Borg seemed more interested in what existed behind the technique. She has one of the cleanest ball-striking techniques I've seen in a long time, Borg reportedly said. But for the Swedish legend, technique was only one piece of the puzzle. Technique can be refined through training. Mentality is something far more difficult to develop. That made Borg's comparison between himself and Eala even more significant. For decades, he had largely stayed away from the spotlight and rarely offered public assessments of young players. The fact that he was reportedly willing to speak so openly about Eala suggested that he recognized something familiar in the way she approached the game. She doesn't try to hit through you. She plays around you, Borg observed. She constructs the point before she's even hit the ball. It's chess, not checkers. That philosophy was remarkably similar to the approach Borg used throughout his own career. Rather than relying solely on overwhelming power, he often dismantled opponents through patience, precision, anticipation, and strategic point construction. If Eala continues developing those same qualities, it could give her the ability to adjust against different opponents and survive the increasingly demanding landscape of modern tennis. As the practice session continued, reporters also noticed something else about Eala. Despite the attention surrounding her, she appeared largely unaffected by the commotion around the court. At one point, she stopped to adjust her strings and calmly reset before continuing. She didn't turn toward the stands or appear interested in impressing the spectators. She simply returned her attention to the practice. And perhaps, more than anything else, that was exactly the kind of detail Borg had been watching. She simply worked. In that moment, the comparison between the Swedish legend and the Filipino rising star felt less like an exaggeration and more like a prophecy. From sold-out stadiums to a career-high ranking, Alex Eala's momentum appeared unstoppable, and Björn Borg's endorsement only added more fuel to the growing excitement surrounding her. By the time Borg made his surprise appearance at Flushing Meadows, Eala had already accomplished something unprecedented in Philippine tennis history. Just weeks earlier, she had become the first Filipina to win a WTA Tour singles title, capturing the WTA 500 Mubadala City DC Open in Washington after battling through an incredibly difficult field. Her run included victories over several high-profile opponents, including Olympic champion Qin Wenjiang, defending champion Leylah Fernandez, world number 10 Elena Rybakina, four-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, and world number 3 Jessica Pegula. The final against Pegula became the defining moment of the tournament. After dropping the opening set 4-6, Eala fought her way back, winning the second set 6-4 before producing a dominant 6-3 deciding set to complete the comeback and etch her name into Philippine tennis history. The numbers tell the story of her relentless rise. On August 24, 2026, just days before the US Open, Eala climbed to a new career-high ranking of world number 18 with 2,281 points. She had surpassed her previous career high of number 20, which she reached on August 3 following her breakthrough victory in Washington. And she didn't stop there. Eala followed her historic title run with a round of 16 appearance at the Canadian Open in Toronto and then reached the round of 32 at the Cincinnati Open. Both tournaments were WTA 1000 events, giving her valuable experience against some of the strongest players in the world. Her season record had also become a major talking point, standing at 36 wins and 18 losses, including an impressive 22-9 record on hard courts. With every victory, her ranking continued to rise, her profile continued to expand, and major endorsements were beginning to pile up. Now, with the US Open approaching and Bjorn Borg publicly taking notice, the attention surrounding Alex Eala had reached another level. The question was no longer whether she belonged among the world's best. The question was just how far this remarkable rise could go. Alex Eala's growing profile had also translated into major financial and commercial momentum. Her net worth was estimated at around $2 million, or roughly 16 million Cuban pesos, driven by tournament prize money and lucrative international endorsements. Her Nike US Open outfit reportedly sold out almost immediately, while apparel connected to other major Nike stars, including Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Aryna Sabalenka, remained available. Whether every comparison was directly attributable to Eala or not, the growing demand around her name had become increasingly difficult to ignore. Now, with the US Open main draw scheduled to begin on August 30th, Eala was expected to enter the singles tournament as the number 17 seed, which would represent the highest Grand Slam seeding of her career. Her schedule was also packed beyond singles. She was set to compete in mixed doubles alongside Canadian star Felix Auger-Aliassime, while an exhibition appearance against her friend Iva Jovic was scheduled for August 27th. But perhaps the most significant validation of Eala's growing status came from an unexpected place: the stands at Arthur Ashe Stadium. When Bjorn Borg spoke, the tennis world listened. His reputation, achievements, and experience gave his words a significance that few other voices in the sport could match. And his comments about Eala sounded like more than simple admiration. They sounded like a prediction about what the young Filipina might eventually become. Borg's surprise appearance at Flushing Meadows wasn't just another celebrity sighting. It became a message. The Swedish legend had watched Eala practice for nearly an hour, closely observing her as she exchanged ground strokes with former world number 3 Grigor Dimitrov. When Borg finally spoke, his words carried the authority of someone who had experienced virtually every level of professional tennis. He had seen champions emerge, rivalries define generations, and young talents become global superstars. And now, standing in New York and watching Alex Eala, Borg appeared convinced that he was witnessing something special. The tennis world was listening, and the real question was whether his prediction would become reality. "I've been watching tennis for 50 years, Borg began. "And I don't say this lightly. There is something special about her." Those words, coming from an 11-time Grand Slam champion who revolutionized the sport, won 5 consecutive Wimbledon titles, dominated on both grass and clay, and helped create one of the